proposing today.
Okay.
This is a picture of the site from the dock looking back at the property. It's started construction. This is the existing foundation that was put in. I'm going backwards on my slides, but
It's making it more interesting.
yes. So.
Start at the end and go to the front. That's
Yeah, there we
for
go.
me.
You want us to go ahead and make a decision first, and then we can go through the presentation?
So it's a single family home, it's a platted lot, as you said, an acre. Zoning is recreational and land use is the resort community there. Priest Lake. Access is off of Old Trout Road along the side of Priest Lake. It does contain map slopes. It does contain map wetlands. Does not contain map wetlands and does obviously has frontage on the lake. The services, the water is existing lake water pump. Sewage is a community drain field. Kavanaugh Bay Fire District and powered by Northern Lights, K3. There's a picture of the zoning and land use. We sent this out for agency review. Was routed, and we had several agencies that came back. Panhandle Health with their typical increasing the size of the building, you'll need new permitting and make sure that the system is adequate for the home. Department of Water Resources is concerned about water and the permitting for the water usage. And Idaho Fish and Game is concerned about the impact along the waterway and how it might affect the fish habitat there along the edge of the lake. DEQ had no comment. We did have some public notice, and we did receive some comments. Forgive me on the names. Danny Michelle Langerdorf sent in a letter with some concerns. John Patricius Turner. Here's an aerial shot of the site. You can see that along the bay, on that area there. This is a little bit hard to see, but this is the new site plan. And if you look at your information, you can see that the property lines and the proposed location of the house. Here's another view of the site. This is from the north, looking to the southwest, out across the lake. Another picture from the dock. So we looked through the standards review and do conditions apply to the property and do not apply generally to other properties in the same zone vicinity, which conditions are a result of lot size, shape, topography, or other circumstances over which the applicant has no control. The site has steep slopes and large outcropping, as we saw in the pictures. The special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. The applicant's original home builder placed that foundation there in the wrong place. The applicants have subsequently discovered he did extremely erroneous work and had incurred over $100,000 in expenses directly attributed from the former general contractor. C, granting of the variance is not in conflict with public interest, and that it will not be detrimental to public health, safety, welfare, or materially injurious to properties or improvements in the vicinity. Staff, based on the information provided, staff finds nothing detrimental to public health, safety, or welfare. If you you had any questions. That was pretty quick and dirty. If you got questions?
Was there a structure here before this one when it was, were they the original lease lot holders or
No,
livers?
this is, but there was a structure there before, and they were replacing the structure
Okay. Where was it located?
in that same vicinity.
Came down right by the water. I know the number of those lease lots, the state never cared about setbacks.
And I don't have any information about where that was in relationship to the.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you a chance to talk for just a second. Does the commissioners have, any of the commissioners have questions? Yeah.
I'm a little confused because it talks about the boathouse at some point, but yet when I look at,
Initially in the application, they talked about doing this variance and
right,
the boathouse and decided to separate those out and just focus on the variance,
Okay.
setback on the house and the docket. So
thank you.
yeah, initially it was in there, but then taken out.
And it looks like, according to the drawing, that they're kind of encroaching a little bit on the 40-foot setback. Not a whole lot, unless I'm looking at this drawing correctly.
Well, 13 feet. I mean, when I look at a deck, I think of just a deck,
Right.
and that's quite a structure if you look at the picture of the home. But you guys will get a chance.
Yeah.
Right now, we're kind of just picking his brain a little bit.
Any other questions for staff before we go to the owner's comments? Hearing none, you're on. Make sure you identify who you are for the record.
Can I go up there?
You can if you like. Yeah, you don't have to. But whatever you want.
I'm Jill Liver. Thank you for your time today. I just gave the commissioners kind of a picture of, we had a stormwater plan drawn up just to make sure that we're doing everything as best as we can. We had no intention of ever having to ask for variance. We got took by our prior contractor. He messed up big time. And questioned him and, oh, we got it, we can do this. And so, footings were poured, they were poured wrong, they're in the wrong spot. That's a challenge of a site to build on. We've had builders look at it and just kind of shake their head at us. So with the site map that I gave you, we had people come and draw it on there. Sorry, I'm losing my words today.
Relax.
Yeah,
We're actually pretty nice guys.
I know. And so basically we're asking for the corner of the deck. So I kind of circled the area there. So it's not 27 feet all along the front of our house. It's one corner of the covered deck that we need permission to build. That's what we're asking for.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Not at this point.
Okay, Steve, nothing?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if Dan may have more to add. He's from 70 Engineering. We
Okay,
had him do
Dan?
our stormwater plan.
Come on up.
Is it all right if I just stand right here?
Sure.
No, you can stand right there. No, yeah, you're fine. I'm just kidding. You're fine. Dan Larson, 7B Engineering. I was just going to update your record. I wasn't sure if you'd had this yet. It was received, submitted to the county on the 5th. And that just shows the additional stormwater features that we designed to try to mitigate the concerns of fish and wildlife on
Okay.
the trout.
Yeah, great. That's fine.
And I was brought into it by the owners, but first I was contacted by the home designer. He was trying to fit a house to this foundation that was done already. So that's kind of a backstory on how we got pulled into this and why we're here. So,
Great. Any questions?
Oh, I don't think so.
Nope. You guys are easy today. Okay.
So
Thanks.
far, I mean,
So far. Okay, we'll go ahead and move it. Any opposition? Are you folks here to oppose or you're for it or, okay? Come on up, identify yourself for the record.
My name is John Minnick. I live at 182 Cutthroat Road, Coolin, Idaho. I am exactly 5 cabins south of Mr. Luber. And first off, I sent in comments, written comments on Friday, and they were not acknowledged. So I don't know if you have them or not.
Let me look.
But I'll try to be brief. I agree with the other folks that are opposing this. And one of the big issues I had, there in South Roselia Bay, there are approximately 21 cabins north of Mr. Looper and roughly 21 cabins south of Mr. Looper. I know of 7 to 9 homes that were purchased cabins, tore them down, rebuilt, and there never were variances required. And I understand their dilemma with what happened with their builder. I just feel like, site planning takes maybe more due diligence than maybe was given here. And I'm not trying to be smart about it. I'm just saying that there's one variance for the garage. I understand that. Now there's a second variance for the house, then possibly a third variance for the boathouse. That's 3 variances on one piece of property. I've been there 37 years. I've never seen this. If you open the door, you're setting a terrible precedent. What I would like to see is, okay, you had an architect, redesign it and give up something. The reason I say that is I attempted on 3 occasions to speak with Mr. Luke. It's not an indictment, but I knocked on the door, nobody answered at the garage. I left a handwritten note wanting to get together and explain certain things. I got feedback from one of the neighbors that basically said, I'm not interested in talking to this gentleman. Why would I talk with him? And oh, by the way, I'll put up no trespassing signs. That is so contrary to the spirit of the lake. And when the state had all of those cottages, one of the things that was mandated was those walking paths along the shoreline past everybody's cabin. All of these new construction that has taken place, I knew all the old timers, I knew their sons and daughters, and now I know their granddaughters and stuff. It's a way to meet people. It's a social event. The biggest thing is I've had my cabin broken into and would never know about it if somebody wasn't walking. And conversely, I have seen things that I thought were out of the ordinary. I contacted the ranger station at Kavanaugh Bay. They called those folks to send somebody to take care of things. So 3 variances, it appears that Mr. Looper is not interested in negotiating or downsizing slightly. He wants what he wants, and the rest of us, no, there'll be no walking path. I don't care. It just, it's just not right. All these other folks have followed all the current rules. I'm not sure what the solution could be. You could dig back the bank further. I've seen that topography. I know that topography. Probably in the bay, that is the absolute worst lot to try to build something on. So I would grant that easily. But trying to walk around, go be a billy goat to get down and try to connect the paths, all summer long, we've had people walking, generations of people. So, but there appears to be a hard set. I don't want to negotiate. I want my variances and I want to do what I want to do. And I'm asking for that not be granted. There's never been any there out of 40 homes there along the shoreline. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Can I?
I have a question actually for Mr. Minnick.
Sure.
In your letter, you talk about variance, Loopers want a variance regardless of the impact to their neighbors and have no interest in modifying their existing plans. What would you say is the impact to the neighbors? Because it appears they bought this property.
Oh, no, you're absolutely correct. And legally, he has the absolute right to keep people from walking across.
Right.
All I'm saying is, you had a paragraph up there that Josh put up, interest to the general public. Well, then evidently, there's no way to walk. We could walk along the water and life would be good, but we get feedback, nope, that's not possible. I'm not interested in providing that.
So one of our favorite sayings here is usually if you don't like it, you should have bought it.
So the effect would be if like, say, your lot is affected by what they're
Okay,
doing,
my-
not your ability to walk across their
Okay.
lot. This is now private property
I
and they have a
understand.
lot of rights
Mhm.
now
Oh, no,
because they
no,
own it.
I understand.
When it was a lease lot, it was a whole different ballgame. And you're
It was
comparing,
mandated by the state.
you're definitely comparing apples to oranges here. And, you know, yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, fine.
even the spirit of the lake comment, I'm just, because we deal with a lot of the lease lot holders through BOEs typically, and I'd be interested to find out what that spirit is, because I haven't been able to put my finger on it yet.
anyway.
Anyways,
Go ahead.
Can I add rebut to that or just?
give us a minute.
Okay.
Let me make sure. Anybody else opposed that wants to speak? We have someone on the line. Okay, go ahead and flag him in. If you would, please.
Greg Turner.
Greg, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you. Go ahead.
My name's Greg Turner. Part of John Turner Living Trust. We live at 242 South Zoe Bay Road. We are the property to the north of the Loopers. We just wanted to say that all new construction has abided by this 40-foot setback. We do not feel 13 feet is just a negligible variance that should be just granted. What else? Let's see here. I'm sorry. I'm reading through my notes here. The 40-foot setback. Yeah. We do not feel like this is something that needs to be granted a variance. We feel like this is a conflict between the Loopers and their contractor. This is not a third party. So this is something that they need to do with their contractor to find a resolution, but doesn't require a variance. Also, we noticed that they have removed a significant amount of footings to the east, so away from the lake, but they have removed a lot of their footings. So there is room for reconstruction. Also, you were talking about the cabin before. It was a fairly large cabin. It was a 5-bedroom, 2-bath cabin that was well set back beyond 40 feet. So when they bought this property, they knew exactly what they were getting. They did not take the due diligence we felt like. Therefore, we do not feel like they deserve a variance for this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Anyone else? Anybody else out there that wants to get one other number?
There's,
Is that a 509?
yeah. 913.
You wish to, whoever that is with no name, do you wish to comment? Nope. Waiting. Nope. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on. Okay, it's time for rebuttal. You guys have anything you want to rebut on this, or I'll turn it back to the owner then? Okay. Please identify yourself for the record.
We don't want to really turn this into a neighborhood
No,
Right.
and
pissing
no,
match. So it's just about.
Yeah, we're just looking for any
Stick to
additional
the
facts that you.
Facts of the case.
Aren't any other
So,
variances.
so Craig Looper, is that well enough for identifying
Yeah.
myself? So nice to meet our neighbors, but the 3 variances is completely inaccurate. We're asking for 1, right? And we've been granted no other variances,
So there was no variance on the garage?
No.
We did the proper permit through the county.
Okay.
And the boathouse, we've discussed that. So just clarifying those things. And then what was and as far as the previous cabin, it was built in 1960. It was an add-on 2-bedroom cabin that they added a roof, and that's where the other 3 bedrooms that
Which one?
came up. It was it was very small. It was set back. Had they built it out, we wouldn't be here because we would be grandfathered in, which I won't ask Josh to go back, but he skimmed over some slides, which you guys have a photo of that there's 3 or 4 lots south of us that are highlighted. And those are all.
And we're pretty familiar with all these parcels.
So the topography that we're dealing with is why we're sitting here. And I don't know if the Minix are grandfathered in or not. It would be very comical if they were, and they're here also. But yeah, we're just, you also, I think, have read our information. We've 2 years ago, our brand new cabin burned down, and we've been building, we're trying to build a place up there for literally 5 years. And we're asking for a 13-foot diagonal exception, which you guys see in there. So we'd love nothing more to get on with things and clean up the place so we can enjoy our property. Thank you.
Okay. You had your hand raised for a moment.
Well,
If there's an opportunity, is there something you can add that you haven't already said?
Just briefly, it's not comical,
Okay.
sir. Those were put in place by the state in the 50s and the 60s when there was no road, no way to get there. If I wanted to tear it down today, I would be in a similar position. So it's, yeah, I am grandfathered.
Oh, so you are within the 40-foot setback?
No, our house is not within 40.
He said.
Okay.
But it's great, there's multiple older cabins such as ours.
Mhm.
And they've been there, they were on the state lease. So it's not ridiculous, it's only if I were to tear it down, I would have to either dig out the back side of my hill and move back to get the 40 feet, or I would be in a position such as the loopers to say, I need some level of a variance. So I'm in good legal standing. There's nothing nefarious about that. The state of Idaho granted that, and at such time, if I were to tear it down, then I would have to.
Okay.
You own the lot?
Yes.
The ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and any other comment from staff or the engineer? Okay.
You want some follow-up?
Yeah,
No.
you have a follow-up?
So a couple of things. The non-conforming use code allows you to rebuild the structure exactly where it is and exactly the same height and everything. If you want to expand it or change it in any way, if it's already inside these setbacks, it has to have a variance for changing that. The justification here is because of the slope, which is a reasonable justification. It's caused by the topography. When we're in the process right now of rewriting the stormwater or the shoreline code and asking that if folks build in the shoreline setback that they provide a stormwater plan, which is what the applicant has done. The applicant is, so that's how we feel that the public has been addressed through that additional stormwater plan has met that requirement. It justifies that because any change in the increase in water into the lake is being addressed through the stormwater plan.
Yeah, and that's been the biggest issue is that how does it affect the lake? How do we mitigate that? Because I agree, I think the original 40-foot setback was ridiculous. It was a gross generalization that didn't take into account non-permeable surfaces, houses that don't off-cast anything, or structures. I think it's a way to deny a portion of private property rights to folks who choose to pay the extra money to live around the body of water. So that's just my.
What do you really think?
I don't know. Well, how much time will you give me? Can I have another, wait a minute, I'm the chairman, I can take as much time as I want. No.
So I have a question.
Well, let me go ahead and close public comment. So everyone done? You're done? Okay. We're going to close public comment and we will go into deliberation at this time. If you wish, you can still ask the applicants questions, but.
Okay, I got a question because I hear this spirit of the community, which I understand the terminology. How many of those neighbors actually addressed you and said, is there anything I can help you with? Be a good neighbor.
No, I appreciate the question.
Okay, because it's been my experience that a lot of times just being a good neighbor, sometimes will access some graces and permissions to
Yeah, no.
maybe walk the shoreline or something. That's just been my experience.
Two or three of our neighbors directly south of us have
South of us are great.
been very supportive and like us, they want our lot back in shape and it's been.
And the state made you pay for your lot, just like they made them pay for their lot. And so
No,
you exercise the same rights they have.
and as people come to our lot and if they want to walk across it, I'd love to meet them. Yeah.
Sound like being a good neighbor.
Yeah.
As long as they ask permission.
Well, it's
It's the right thing to do.
Seems appropriate.
Yeah, we've got a rather large family parcel and I let people access it as long as they ask permission.
Yeah.
And normally they're pretty friendly. Okay, any other comments? How's deliberation go? Your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on this are typical to a lot of my comments on variances, especially along the water. in my opinion, to force the landowner to redo this and to move it backwards is creating more harm or possible harm to the lake and harm to the lot. I really don't have a problem with a 13-foot encroachment that only goes about halfway across the and just the deck. It doesn't seem like too much to ask, and it seems like the right way to go because of the amount of work that you'd have to do to the ground to make it work otherwise. I just don't think it's.
Yeah, when you take into account the topography of the parcel, and the fact that my previous opinion with respect to the 40-foot setback, I get wanting to protect the lake. I'm all about protecting the lake. We have thousands of lineal feet of lakefront footage, and we're very cognizant of that. But we're also cognizant of the fact that it costs. I mean, the assessed value on these homes on these waterways are extremely high compared to anywhere else. And when you're told you can't use a portion of the lake, a portion of your property, because it's to protect the lake, when in fact you're not doing anything detrimental to the lake, it makes no sense. And like I said, it flies in the face of private property rights. And in this case, 13 feet for half the deck, I mean, it boggles my mind that there would be opposition to this, to be honest with you. It just seems to me that you guys have gone through quite a bit of stuff. Some things not so great. And that the variance process is there for a reason, and this is certainly one of the reasons that it's there. So with that, I would move to go ahead and approve this, and I'll accept a motion either way, whatever you guys feel froggy about here.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the project file V0012-20, 27-foot waterfront setback where 40 is required, finding that it is in accord with Bonner County Revised Code as enumerated and following conclusions of law. Based upon the evidence submitted up to the time staff report was prepared and testimony received at this hearing, I further move to adopt the following findings of fact and conclusions of law as written or as amended. The action that could be taken to obtain the variance is to complete the conditions of approval as adopted. This action does not result in a taking of private property.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes. And it is 1:59, and we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. So